It's Joho and Oparanya. Raila Odinga bequeaths ODM leadership to his two deputies as he focuses on AU Commission chairmanship. Well, good evening. My name is Wairimu, Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. Now, we kick it off with bar owners and second-generation alcohol manufacturers have termed the suspension of licenses by government as punitive and unwarranted. This as legal pundits have warned the blanket directive could run into legal headwinds. Now, as they cry foul, Interior CS Kindiki Kithori maintains there is no reverse gear, and those found flouting the directive will be dealt with firmly. Joseph Wahungu starts our bulletin with that story.
A day after the government spelled out tough measures aimed at ending the problem of manufacture, distribution and sale of illicit brews, a section of second-generation liquor manufacturers and bar owners have come out to defend their businesses. The manufacturers and bar owners say they are yet to receive any formal communication. The legality of the directive is also one that is a subject of discussion among the learned friends. According to lawyer George Keithy, the CS erred in law by announcing a blanket suspension of the manufacturers' licenses.
And therefore, for purpose of making a general, a cross-cutting statement of revocation first, there's no gazette notice. If there was any, it becomes illegal because it criminalizes everyone. Like it is said, you cannot burn a whole forest because some mouse in the forest came and ate your corn in the shamba. And if they're going to be banned without any notice or reasons in law, then the procedural impropriety means that they're giving the operators a right to complain before the courts.
This comes as Bar, Hotel and Liquor Traders Association warned the directive to shut bars could render at least 200,000 workers jobless.
We have some small reservation on that point. Na tukuambie Waziri Kindiki, jana wakati ulisema kuna bars ambazo zilifungwa. Hakuna bars zimefungwa. Watu wako wamezunguka wakiokota hongo.
Additionally, they are calling on the government to dismantle what they say are powerful cartels protecting the supply chains of lethal alcoholic drinks.
Tunataka serikali ideal na barons na cartels ambazo zina import ethanol illegally. So we are very happy. 70% of what was said imekuja kutu support. And for once, tumerealize ya kwamba the president listens to us.
24 hours after its directive to ban second-generation liquor licenses in the country, the government faces legal hurdles, with stakeholders claiming the decision was taken without proper consultation of all stakeholders. For Prime Edition reporting, I'm Joseph Wahungu.
Now, embattled Kisii Deputy Governor Robert Monda will now face the Senate plenary after an attempt to set up an 11-member committee to hear his impeachment case flopped on a technicality. The motion to form the committee was moved by Senate Majority Leader Aaron Cheriot. However, in an unprecedented turn of events in an impeachment case, the motion lacked a seconder after Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna withdrew. This prompted the Speaker to rule his impeachment case to be heard in plenary.
Thursday afternoon at Senate chambers, Speaker Amason Kingi would inform the House he was in receipt of an impeachment motion from the Kisii County Assembly impeaching the Deputy Governor Robert Monda.
That I have, pursuant to Standing Order 48-4, received a message from the Speaker of the County Assembly of Kisii regarding the removal from office by way of impeachment of His Excellency Honorable Dr. Robert Onsare Monda, the Deputy Governor of Kisii County.
The Speaker would then proceed to read the 11 names of senators proposed to form a committee to hear the petition.
Now, Honorable Senators, this is the fourth impeachment hearing in the 13th Parliament and the second one involving a Deputy Governor. In undertaking this mandate, the Senate will be sitting as a quasi-judicial body and will conduct investigation into the alleged infractions of the Constitution and the law, and thereafter make its determination on the matter.
The Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising of the following senators. 1. Senator Seki Olekanar. 2. Senator David Wafula Wakoli. 3. Senator Mariam Sheikh, to investigate the proposed removal from office of Honorable Dr. Robert Monda, the Deputy Governor of Kisii County, and pursuant to Standing Order number 82, to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not its particulars of the allegations against the Deputy Governor to have been substantiated.
Shortly after, party politics would appear to play out on the floor of the Senate, as Speaker invited Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot to move the motion to form the committee. Cheruiyot would then invite Minority Whip Edwin Sifuna to second the motion, and in an unprecedented turn of events,
I wish to request the Senator for Nairobi to second this motion.
Okay, allow me to begin with the tail, then come to the head, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at the meeting of SBC this Tuesday.
Senator Sifuna.
Yes.
Are you seconding this motion?
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, I cannot second this motion.
Then just take your seat. Having suffered that setback, the fallback position is that this matter shall be heard in plenary.
the motion flopped on a technicality after lacking a seconder, sealing the fate of the Deputy Governor, as he'll now face a Herculean task of defending himself in plenary. Monda was impeached on grounds of abuse of office, violating the Constitution, and gross misconduct by the County Assembly. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Now, the ODM party succession politics has sparked the interest of the party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga. Odinga, who has broken his silence on the debate amid heightened political jostling, pitting his two deputies, Ali Hassan Joho and Wycliffe Oparanya, says he has no preferred successor. Speaking in Wajir County for an ODM membership drive, Odinga called on the two deputy party leaders to unite and work together to steer the party as he continues his campaign for the position of the African Union Commission chairmanship. The party leader further called on ODM party members to remain united ahead of the grassroots elections and the 2027 general elections.
Iko hapa na Gavana Oparanya, Gavana Ali Hassan Joho. Si wako hapa? Vinara vya ODM. Kuna hawa watu. Si kuna hawa. Si kuna hawa. Watashikana pamoja. Chama ambaye iko na msingi mzuri hawezi kusambaratika ati mtu mmoja ameenda kando namna hiyo. Chama sio mtu. Chama ni wanachama na viongozi. Na mimi na hakika hawa ambaye niko nao hapa wanatosha. Wanatosha. Watazidi kuendesha mambo ya chama hata kama mimi niko kule Addis Ababa.
I just want to make sure you are a student, you're back as a leader.
I think a time has come where I don't mind, as a party leader Wiper, donating the umbrella to this country. Because at the end of the day, we are all under one umbrella called Kenya.
The Cabinet has directed that the role of regional development authorities be realigned with the dictates of devolution. In a meeting chaired by President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi, the Cabinet said the review should assess the impact and effectiveness of the 6 regional authorities. At a meeting at State House, Nairobi on Thursday, the Cabinet also approved the Livestock Bill 2023. Timothy Kipnusu has the details.
The regional authorities to be reassessed to conform to the desires of devolution include Tana and Athi Rivers Development Authority, Kerio Valley Development Authority, Lake Basin Development Authority, Ewaso Nyiro North Development Authority, Ewaso Nyiro South Development Authority, and the Coast Development Authority. At a meeting at State House in Nairobi on Thursday, the Cabinet also approved the Livestock Bill 2023. The proposed law provides for regulatory framework in the livestock sector, giving priority to the dairy, leather and meat value chains. The Cabinet noted the meat industry is largely unregulated, a gap that the proposed law will now close. The livestock value chain provides huge opportunities for farmers and investors, given the country's livestock populations in Africa. The cabinet at the same time gave a note to the National Agricultural Mechanization Policy that seeks to enhance productivity in production. The policy will also improve agricultural efficiency and offer incentives for large-scale commercial farming. In line with the Kenya Kwanza's commitment to transparent fiscal management, the cabinet also approved a new method of accounting in government. The current cash basis of accounting will be replaced by accrual basis of accounting the next 3 years. The change in accounting was recommended by the National Treasury and the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, where revenue or expenses are recorded when transactions occurs, and these, according to the cabinet, will enhance reporting on liabilities, pending bills, and other liabilities. Timothy Kipnoso for Prime Edition.
Now, a section of women leaders are decrying the continued inequality in allocation of funds towards gender mainstreaming programs at the national and grassroots level. The women leaders are calling for allocation of more resources towards gender empowerment, as well as inclusion of women in decision-making platforms across all spheres. Now, the push comes ahead of the International Women's Day celebration set for Friday.
As the globe prepares to mark International Women's Day, a women's group under the umbrella of Eco Network Africa are calling for deliberate steps to bridge the gaps in women empowerment.
First thing we need to think about is strengthening institutions that support women's inclusion and empowerment.
The group, through its chief executive officer, says gender equality cannot be achieved when women are excluded from decision-making bodies.
How are we financially going to include women, bring women to the table where there's affordable financing?
What we're trying to say is everybody who has an opportunity to invest in women, there is a potential. And as we do so, we're creating also another phase of women who can come up and take after those who have gone before us.
This comes amid calls for the national and county government to allocate funds to support women empowerment programs.
In all our items, from healthcare to road infrastructure to social duties, we have not even achieved a 3% of that budget that goes to women.
If the 3 pieces of legislation are considered by Parliament, debated and passed into law together, of course with the other pieces of legislation that have been proposed by the National Dialogue Committee, we think that the country can then come to full realization of the 2/3 gender rule.
As the country gears up to celebrate International Women's Day tomorrow, calls have been made for men to be included in the conversation in the fight against gender inequality. Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
Now to the corridors of justice. 2 convicts who were found guilty of being members of a terrorist group and their female accomplice who forged documents have been sentenced to serve 19 years and 3 years imprisonment respectively. The duo, Abadi Majid Hassan and Muhammad Osman Nane, were found guilty of holding firearms without license and planning terrorist activities in the country, among other counts. Details of this and other stories making headlines in the courts.
Copies of the judgment.
The 2 convicts, Abadi Majid Hassan and Mohamed Osman Nane, who were arrested in Isiolo in 2018, will now serve 19 years in jail.
There's no doubt that the offences in which they were convicted by this court on the 13th of February 2024 are very serious and poses a threat to our national security.
While sentencing the 2, the presiding magistrate Zainab Abdul termed the offence serious, and the country will have witnessed a catastrophe as their evil mission succeeded.
For accused number 1 and 2, the sentences shall run concurrently.
The court also sentenced Lydia Nyawira Mburu to serve 3 years in prison for forging documents during the arrest of the 2 terrorist convicts.
What is involved have 14 days right of appeal to the High Court. Those are the orders of this court.
And Bishop David Ngare Gakuyo has not secured his release from prison after he failed to secure 10 million shillings cash bail. The court dismissed his application seeking review of his bail term, saying it was consummate to the offence committed.
Having considered the judiciary bail and bond policy at page 8 and the plethora of authorities from the superior courts, the relevant circumstances predominantly the nature and seriousness of this offence, and the ineluctable circumstance leading to the accused person's arrest at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, I'm of a view that the bond bail term set on the 26th of February 2024, are reasonable and commensurate to the offence facing the accused person.
Trial Magistrate Ben Makehubi has directed the prosecution to supply its defense counsel with all documentary evidence and other exhibits it will be relying upon during trial. Finally, Paul Mackenzie Defense Counsel now wants the court to thwart the 190 counts placed against the Shakahola accused persons. Led by James Mauko and Wycliffe Makasembo, Mackenzie claims the High Court and the Court of Appeal courts have no jurisdiction to hear all those charges.
Against the rights of the accused persons to fair trial, as is envisaged in Article 50, 2C and E.
However, the prosecuting counsel led by Victor Mule have vehemently opposed the application. Justice Mugure Thande will deliver the ruling on the application on 17th May 2024. Bishop David Gakuyo will continue to cool his heels in prison after his appeal to reduce the 10 million cash bail that he was unable to pay was dismissed by the court. Ruth Wamboy reporting from Milimani Law Courts.
Now, Matatu owners want the government to use its training facilities to train public service vehicle crew to help restore sanity in the transport sector. Matatu Owners Association President Albert Karagasha, who was speaking in Nairobi, said every effort and available avenues must be explored to have order on the public transport sector, which has always been characterized with chaos.
The government, through the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, Matatu Owners Association and other stakeholders in the transport sector, has embarked on a countrywide inspection exercise for public service vehicles to ensure their roadworthiness.
Tumepimwa bure, tumepimwa presa, tumepimwa sukari, na nimeona vizuri kila dereva wote apimwe, ajijue vile yako. Si kuendezaga gari na ujue vile uko.
The exercise geared towards ensuring compliance of the PSVs on regulations put in place for the safety of Kenyan roads.
Trying to talk to our drivers, you've seen the police talking to them, and we believe that talking to them, it is going to reduce the issue of the alcohol, them taking alcohol when they are driving their vehicles, and it is going to reduce the issue of misbehaving on the road.
Jambo kubwa ni usalama barabarani, na tumekuwa tukihimiza wananchi wote ni kwa ajili ya ajali ambazo zimeongezeka. Watu wote wazingatie usalama, kwa sababu usalama inaanza na mimi na wewe.
Matatu Owners Association President Albert Karagacha, who attended the event, urged the government to consider having all Matatu drivers trained under the National Youth Service Program.
If the president the other day he stood and said that 80% of the police are supposed to come from NYS, we are urging the minister in charge of NYS to talk to us. We want almost 80% of the drivers to come from NYS.
The stakeholders called on all road users, passengers, drivers and even cyclists to take personal responsibility and observe for the safety of all.
The Human Wildlife Conflict Compensation Scheme has been rolled out on a pilot basis in 6 counties. The scheme is expected to cover incidences of human death and injury, livestock predation, crop and property damage. This was revealed during the unveiling of the National Human-Wildlife Coexistence Strategy and Action Plan of 2024-2033 by the Ministry of Tourism.
The launch of the National Human-Wildlife Coexistence Strategy and Action Plan of 2024-2023 sets the stage to address the perennial problem of human-wildlife conflict.
As you put money in people's pocket,
also mitigate what takes away money from people's pockets. Because for as long as farmers plant and elephants reap, then of course that's a failure on the agriculture. It negates the reason why we have subsidized fertilizer programs.
In a bid to address the menace, the Ministry of Tourism says it has established a human-wildlife conflict compensation scheme that will be rolled out on a pilot basis in 6 counties of Baringo, Narok, Kajiado, Taita Taveta, Meru and Laikipia. The pilot program is expected to be in operation for 2 years and will leverage on technology and community involvement for efficient reporting, verification, and timely settlement of claims.
We need financing to provide water, to be able to partition and separate where wildlife and where people are taking their water. Drilling boreholes, creating water ponds. We need to advise our communities on appropriate agricultural practices, settlement, not to be sitting on wildlife corridors.
Somebody gets hurt by an animal and you go and see them after 1 year or you compensate them after 5 years. Chances are that by the time you're compensating them after 5 years, they are really pissed off with you. It matters how prompt you are, how empathetic you are.
Compensation for me is like affordable housing for the president. By hook or by crook, it must work.
800 million shillings has been set aside for the pilot program and another 960 million shillings injected to the ordinary scheme that has been in operation since 2014. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Now to county news, over 2,000 families have been displaced following banditry attacks in Saimo Soy ward of Baringo County. This comes even as one more person was killed yesterday evening in Chepkwel village, with bandits making away with hundreds of livestock. A series of attacks in Baringo North has left 13 people dead so far. Elsewhere, police in Naivasha, Nakuru County have arrested 9 people in connection with highway robberies along the Nakuru-Naivasha highway. During the operation, 3 motor vehicles and assorted electronic goods worth millions of shillings were recovered. This and more stories in the county news.
This camp in Moinoning, hosting 80 families, paints a picture of the desperate situation in Baringo North. Residents have fled their homes due to banditry attacks. Children here no longer able to attend school due to insecurity. Only yesterday, bandits struck the area, killing a 50-year-old man, injuring his wife, and driving away several heads of cattle. This forced the IDPs to move again, displacing them for the second time. They are now calling for urgent intervention from the government.
Juzi ndio watu walianza kurejea kutoka pale walihamia kuelekea makwao. Lakini jana walifamia watu huko Chepkwel, wakapeleka ng'ombe na mbuzi na wakaua mtu mmoja. Sasa hiyo tena imesidisha tena watu wataanza kurudi tena kutoroka.
Elsewhere, security agents in Kwale County have been put in the spot for alleged inaction after the attack on Pinewood Hotel. Despite assurances by government, suspects captured on CCTV are yet to be brought to book. Kenya Coast Tourist Association Chief Executive Julius Owino is urging the Director of Prosecutions to act to help restore confidence to tourists and investors in the region.
The issues, when you have certain issues, we operate in a country where we have laws. And we cannot throw away laws and use the jungle rule. If there are issues, let's go, we can use the arbitration. That entity is in tourism industry. It will not operate in silos. So the workers there need to be protected.
In Naivasha, police have recovered 3 stolen motor vehicles and assorted electronic goods worth millions of shillings following an operation in different towns. Among the recovered items were a trailer, 2 private cars, TV sets, gas cookers and mobile phones, among other items.
Items ambazo tumekuwa recovered the electronic accessories. 4 suspects walipelekwa kotini na wakachukua plea, wengine walishindwa kulipa hizo bond, wako bado rumande. We are still looking for more suspects, especially for those robberies We have a prime suspect for the filter vehicle. We are still pursuing him, and it's known that the name is known, and we are pursuing him. Very soon, I am sure we are going to net that person.
And finally, at least 12,000 learners from poor families in Kajiado County have benefited from bursaries amounting to 55 million shillings from the county government. Area Governor Joseph Walilengu says the bursary was a clear demonstration that his administration was fully committed to ensuring no child was left back in education.
Katika mazungumzo haya tena tumekubaliana na wabunge wetu wa assembly kwamba in the next financial year tutasukuma hii bursary iende mpaka milioni 300. Sababu ya kufanya hivyo ni kutambua kwamba changamoto kubwa wazazi wako nayo ni kusomesha watoto yao.
Well, that roundup rather takes us to a first commercial break. Remember, we are live on all social media platforms and also on YouTube. Let's take that commercial break.
No statistics have come yet to see how many children are into this child prostitution. But it is happening because of desperation. Because of desperation, you find even the mothers send their children. As a country, we also have a future and a dream of our children. Because of the ones who will inherit this country after we are gone. They are the citizens of tomorrow. We need your protection. We need you to assist us in protecting these children.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Vuka na shake.
Welcome to Sensei Institute. Mahali skills zangu ni pesa mkononi. At Sensei College, practical skills is the definition. Accredited by the government and founded on a Christian background, Sensei College offers all-rounded programs that are tailor-made to enhance your skills and give you the future you desire. We offer courses such as interior design, fashion and design, hairdressing and beauty, hospitality courses, trailer driving and defensive driving, building construction technology, CCTV, solar and electrical installation, photography and video production, electronic courses, vehicle electronics and mechanic courses, agricultural mechanics, ICT, and many more. To enroll in any of our campuses in Nairobi and Nakuru, all you need is your national ID card. Mapema ndo best. Take advantage of our monthly intake. Come to kusort na skills. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
Well, thank you for staying with us. We change gears now to business. Remember later on, Karen Kibet will be bringing you the sports update. Now, Controller of the Budget, Margaret Nyakango, has revealed that the government only spent less than a quarter of the development annual budget to finance projects in the first 6 months of this financial year. Now, appearing before the Senate Committee on Finance and Planning, Nyakango raised the red flag of a slow budget absorption rate by ministries, department and state agencies, which stand at less than 30% of total allocations.
According to official government report, ministries, departments and state agencies spend 197 billion shillings of the development expenditure against a total 783.2 billion shillings budgeted towards funding public projects and programs. The Controller of Budget, who appeared before the Senate Committee on Finance and Planning, raised concerns with delays by the National Exchequer in releasing funds for development, which is hurting the state expenditure plan.
The Exchequer issues means the amount of actual cash that was released to them. You know, sometimes you may have a big budget, but the money doesn't get to you. So in terms of those who received the highest amount, the GJLO sector received the highest.
The Senate Committee questioned why some development funding was redirected to semi-autonomous government agencies, asking the criteria used that saw some ministries receive funding of up to 50%, while other 11 ministries received zero development exchequer funding for the period under review.
The ones that had zero development exchequers, in spite of the fact that they had a budget, number one is the State Department for Shipping and Maritime Affairs. Number two, State Department for Culture and Heritage.
On recurrent exchequer issues, the education sector received the lowest proportion at 37.8%.
The LO has an allocation of 240 billion,
right,
whereas education has 689 billion. So although in terms of percentage, then one would think that the education sector received materially the lowest, but in terms of the quantum, it is very high.
The percentage is still very important.
The Controller of Budget recommends timely release of exchequer issues, regularization of overdrawn budget lines in the supplementary budget too, and ensuring compliance with the set public debt ceiling to curb further growth in public debt, which results in higher public debt expenditure.
Now, hundreds of Egyptian investors are in Kenya exploring business opportunities in manufacturing, agriculture and logistics. Industrialization Principal Secretary Juma Mukhwana says the two countries have also signed various bilateral agreements in a move to bolster economic ties and explore new trade horizons.
Data from the Ministry of Trade indicates that trade between Kenya and Egypt increased at an annualized rate of 4% over the last 26 years, from 6 billion shillings in 1995 to 95 billion shillings in 2022. The growth in trade ties has seen Egypt becoming the biggest importer of Kenyan coffee and tea, with Cairo buying tea valued at 35 billion shillings in 2022, according to the United Nations Comtrade database on international trade. The two countries are now exploring more ideas to deepen trade ties between Nairobi and Cairo.
The important economy in Africa, Kenya is part of one of the leading countries in East Africa. We share the Nile Basin. We are both in the Nile Basin area. And Kenya has potential to serve other countries.
There's a robust strategy with the leather sector working group that is looking at that. Also textile and apparel, we value your fashion and the aspects of how you're able to reach more markets.
Industrialization Principal Secretary Dr. Juma Mukhwana says Kenya and Egypt boast diverse economies and vibrant markets, which holds immense potential if property is harnessed.
If we can do a lot, if we can grow this from 30,000, 40,000 billion shillings to 400 billion in the next 5 years between Kenya and Egypt, both sides benefiting, this will send a good signal that Africa is ready to do business with itself.
Dr. Mukwana says the collaboration between Kenya and Egypt encompasses various sectors aligned to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
The partnership between Kenya and Egypt stands in as a beacon of inspiration for investors as the two nations seek deepening their bilateral ties. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
The International Fertilizer Development Center is calling on the government to extend the subsidy program to cover blending, or to optimize rather, and lower fertilizer prices. International Fertilizer Development Center president says there is need for Kenya to be blending fertilizer to enrich it with nutrients suitable for its soils.
The government approved an 8 billion shillings fertilizer supplementary budget allocation in the current financial year to expand reach of the subsidized fertilizer program during the long rain season. The International Fertilizer Development Center says the use of synthetic fertilizer is still low at an average of 19 kilos per acre against the recommended 50 kilos per acre, which is affecting food production.
They can get more information. If the fertilizer can be affordable and it can be available whenever they want it, then farmers can use more fertilizer.
To mitigate against low use of fertilizer, the International Fertilizer Development Center is calling for the scaling up of fertilizer blending to enrich the chemical with nutrients suitable for the Kenyan soil.
Increasing food productivity by producing or by using minerals available in country, and then add those minerals from which are not in country to add them from the global market. So that will reduce the total volume of exports and also the burden on the budget.
An integrated synthetic and organic fertilizer mix has been backed to lower the cost of fertilizer.
Look at manure, like we always did, or let chicken litter, or ammonia, green ammonia, which is produced locally. Or let's look at organic matter, which comes from markets or from the field, and bring it back to the fields.
Benson Drioba reporting for Prime Edition.
The hospitality industry players around Mount Kenya have rolled out an initiative to jointly market the destination. They are banking on new tourism products and activities such as ziplining, hiking and camping, as well as the safari product to attract both holidaymakers and business travelers to Nanyuki and its environment.
Mount Kenya region being endowed with various tourist products, players believe the region is yet to hit optimum tourist numbers. They have now rolled out an initiative to jointly highlight the tourist attractions in the area, and this is why.
So when we came here, we started off because we thought there was need for this kind of facility, and what is exciting even the more is the current things which people have been able to see, in that now we have got 3 complementaries which create a rich source for anybody who is visiting this part of Nanyuki specifically.
They believe the destination is ideal for both business travelers and holiday makers.
For those who are outdoor lovers, then you have got again where we, on these grounds where we are standing, you have seen the high ropes and the outdoor, what you call outdoor gym. You have seen something like this walkway here where you can just come and in the comfort of our hotel, of our caliber, you are able to do all these things which you would like to do.
They are calling on county and national governments to aggressively market the Mount Kenya circuit, especially among domestic tourists, most of whom have not explored the area.
Where you have all the team moving together and supporting each other. You bring the teams together and give them the tasks, because we use a method called the experiential learning. Experiential learning, unlike the formal learning, in the formal learning you say 2 + 2 is 4, but in experiential learning 2 + 2, 2 and 2 can become 22.
On offer in the Mount Kenya circuit are activities such as hiking, safaris to wildlife and conservancies, as well as ecotourism, culture and sports tourism. Ian Muse for Prime Edition.
Olpejata Conservancy in Laikipia County stands out as home to the world's last 2 northern white rhinos. The largest black rhino sanctuary in East Africa champions the conservation of rare and endangered species. Tonight on Magical Scenes, we unveil the beauty of the conservancy.
Journeying to Olpejata is an adventure in itself. Situated in Laikipia County, 220 kilometers from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, a road trip offers captivating sights of the Kenyan landscape. Olpejata is the largest black rhino sanctuary in East Africa and home to the last 2 northern white rhinos. The world's first IVF rhino pregnancy took place here.
Unfortunately, we have lost all the northern males. The 2 males was Sudan and Sunni passed away the year 2014 of natural cause. And later on 19th of March, we lost the last male of their kind, and that was Sudan at the age of 45. And normally, white rhinos out in the wild, they can be able to live to around 45 or 50 years in the wild. And Sudan managed to live a very good life. By losing the 2 males, it was a challenge because the 2 remaining females, it means that naturally they have no possibility anymore for making more calves. So the next stage remaining is that the 22 created embryos we are going to implant using southern white rhino as potential surrogate mothers. We don't want to risk using the 2 females because anything might happen and we don't want to lose the species. At least we are trying to give them a very special care, special treatment, so that we keep collecting more eggs and do some multiple embryos as well.
A century ago, more than 1 million rhinos roamed the grasslands of Africa. However, their numbers dwindled by at least 95%, prompting wildlife conservationists to have them in national parks and reserves like Olpejata Conservancy, where they can be protected from poachers. The chimpanzees also found a home here. The chimpanzees' natural home range spans from Senegal on the West African coast through the central forested belt of Africa to Uganda. They are not native to Kenya, but when a rescue center in Burundi had to be closed due to the civil war outbreak in 1993, Olpejata opened its doors. The number of chimpanzees here today stands at 35. Olpejata, whose name means the burnt grass in the Maasai language, sits on a plateau around 1,800 meters above sea level, ideal for visits all year round.
We've adopted that model of livestock and wildlife integration, whereby we have around 7,000 head of cattle. So they are in the conservancy, roaming freely and also being herded by our herdsmen. So what the cows do, apart from just being a source of income, because we usually have an abattoir here that we usually use, and we sell our meat locally. We use them as a tool of range management. So when the cows graze around, they collect those sticks, and after every 7 days, those cows will go through what we call a spray race to get rid of the ticks.
The destination is also home to at least 7 prides of lions, cheetahs, leopards, elephants, besides many more iconic African animals and birds. Irene Huchuma Odim, Magical Sense in the county of Laikipia.
Now, still on tourism, the Kenya Tourism Board has signed a marketing partnership with county governments to unlock tourism potential in different tourism circuits in the country. The engagement involves a comprehensive mapping framework aimed at profiling all tourist attractions nationwide.
Through the partnerships, the Kenya Tourism Board will work closely with all 47 counties to identify unique selling propositions that will elevate tourist experiences and stimulate domestic tourism. Kenya Tourism Board Acting CEO John Chichi says investors should capitalize on various opportunities present in each county to enhance tourism infrastructure and experiences.
The real potential lies in collaborating with these governors. Governors are very influential. They know every corner of their county, and we come in as Kenya Tourism Board to powerfully package this and to make sure it is known within the right target audiences, right segments.
Sector Players says strategic marketing of regional tourism blocks will be a key driver in unlocking tourism potentials.
Let us package and provide the Kenyan potential in terms of tourism, so that we do not limit ourselves just to the traditional tourism potential. We have huge, and every county in Kenya has something to offer.
Stakeholders in the sector have also been urged to improve standards so as to remain relevant and competitive. The Tourism Fund Board Chairman Samson Some says ensuring standardization of tourism establishments will help boost the country's huge tourism potentials.
By interacting with these stakeholders, we are able to inform ourselves of what exactly is expected in this capacity building, what exactly is needed, and improve on the new skills that are actually needed to get us to the next level in tourism development.
Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Cases of cybercrime jumped tenfold in Kenya in the last quarter of 2023, highlighting the dangers the cyber criminals pose to the country. According to the latest Communication Authority Cybersecurity report, for the financial year 2023-2024, the country detected 1.3 billion cyber threats incidences and a 943% jump compared to the last quarter of 2022.
According to the Q1 report, the communications regulator said of the attacks, 79% were as a result of cyber criminals exploiting flaws and vulnerabilities in organizations' internal controls, system procedures, and information systems. 7,514,964 malware cases were detected with 156,982 advisories issued. Mobile application attacks detected within the same period was at 27,147 and 7,193 advisories issued. Other forms of cyber assaults that saw an increase during the period include brute force attacks, which rose by 89.6% to 9.7 million. According to CA, malware attacks were targeted at systems deemed to hold sensitive data, such as personal and financial information, with objectives mainly being to disrupt and sabotage systems and take control of entire networks for malicious purposes. In July 2023, attackers targeting the private sector and public service unsuccessfully gained access to government services portals. The attack on government websites was an attempt to overload the systems through requests with intentions of clogging it. The attack affected over 5,000 government services, rendering them inaccessible. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Now to news making headlines in the corporate world. The Competition Authority of Kenya has approved the proposed acquisition of 10.13% of the issued share capital of I&M Group PLC by East African Growth Holding unconditionally. The Competition Authority of Kenya says the approval has been granted based on the finding that the transaction is unlikely to negatively impact competition in the market for commercial banking services, nor elicit negative public interest concerns, the two key considerations during merger analysis. Here are the details of that story and more.
East Africa Growth Holding is a limited liability company incorporated and registered in Mauritius. It does not have operations in Kenya. However, it is affiliated with Afrikinvest, a private equity investor that has invested in more than 200 companies across 35 African countries and in several sectors. On the other hand, I&M Group PLC is licensed by the Central Bank of Kenya as a non-operating holding company whose shares are listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The proposed transaction involves the acquisition of 10.13% of the issued share capital of I&M Group PLC by East Africa Growth Holding from British International Investment PLC, which is one of the existing shareholders. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Kenya has licensed 19 digital credit providers. This brings the number of licensed digital lenders to 51 following the licensing of 32 digital credit providers announced in March last year. The central bank says it has received 480 applications from digital lenders for licensing since March 2022 and has worked closely with the applicants in reviewing their applications. The licensing of digital lenders was precipitated by concerns by the public about the predatory practices of the unregulated digital lenders, about high cost, unethical debt collection practices, and the abuse of personal information. Finally, the proposed Investment Promotion and Facilitation Bill is expected to streamline the coordination of investment-related matters in Kenya. The law emphasizes simplifying administrative procedures, enhancing transparency, and reducing bureaucratic obstacles. The bill proposes the establishment of a digital One Start, One Go for investment facilitation, which will provide a streamlined and efficient process for obtaining licenses, permits, and approvals. Additionally, it will introduce a comprehensive investment incentives framework to attract and retain investors in priority areas.
Now to stories making headlines across the globe. Sluggish economic growth in key palm oil buyers, including China, is expected to weigh on demand for major suppliers such as Indonesia, which are already facing lower exports. The Indonesian Palm Oil Association projects demand from key buyers of palm oil to be lower this year. Here are the details of that story and more.
Indonesia projects to produce 54.4 million tons of palm oil in 2024, a slight increase compared with 53.2 million tons last year. Exports are expected to fall to around 29.5 million tons from an estimated 32.2 million tons in 2023. Global palm oil production have declined since the beginning of this year, with stocks down 1.2 million tons so far this quarter. Nearly 58% of palm oil, the world's most widely consumed vegetable oil, produced in Indonesia, was exported in 2023. Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives has voted to approve a $467.5 billion spending package, the first steps in averting a partial government shutdown. Funding for roughly 30% of the federal government, including agriculture, energy, housing, and veterans affairs, is due to expire at midnight on Friday. The House-passed bill now goes to the U.S. Senate, where leaders have voted to back the measure with time to spare. But the threat of shutdown looms over Congress once again in just 2 weeks. Once the bill passes the Senate and is signed by President Joe Biden, the legislation would extend the funding available for dozens of federal programs from 8th March until 30th September. Finally, bankrupt crypto companies FTX and BlockFi have resolved their disputes stemming from the company's collapses in 2022, with FTX agreeing to pay BlockFi up to $874 million. The two companies had a close relationship before a 2022 market crash revealed FTX's widespread misuse of customer funds. BlockFi provided loans to FTX affiliate hedge fund Alameda Research, and it turned to FTX for rescue financing during a volatile cryptocurrency market in the summer of 2022. FTX could pay BlockFi up to $689 million on account of the Alamexa loans, but only the first $250 million is guaranteed.
Now, women journalists in Kenya have proved their mettle and tremendous influencing a change of public perception about their key role in media. Earlier on, I told you we spoke to Mary Daraja, who is the radio programs manager here at KBC, and he'll be telling us more about her journey in the media industry. But that interview will be coming to you later on after this commercial short break.
Jinsi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja star 570 hash ukana shake.
Ili kupata msubiri Mungu kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza star 812 star 501 hash.
Kijana kanipigia simu amejawa na huzuni. Amefadhaika yuhoi. Nikamuuliza kunani? Japo nimetia jitihada za mtu wa kujenga nyumba kwa mate, nikaongeza kumcha Mungu, sifanikiwi. Naishi kama lofa mlala hoi, kabwela wa madongo.
Kupata msubiri Mungu kama sikiza tune, bonyeza star 812 star 501 hash. Star 812 star 501 hash.
Thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. It is time for an interactive session, and ahead of the International Women's Day that is set to be celebrated tomorrow on the 8th of March 2024, we'd like to talk about the strides that have been made by women in the media industry. It is an industry where women have not risen to leadership until recent years, and we want to find out from one of those women who is in top leadership in the media industry just what the challenges have been getting this far and what can be done to ensure that more women are rising to the top. The lady in question is Mary Daraja. She is the radio programs manager here at KBC. Thank you very much for joining us and speaking with us.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. Please do tell us your journey, how it started until now. Briefly.
I have 28 years of experience in media, but I've been in KBC for 27 years now. I started off at the East African Standard after college. I trained in broadcast journalism and mass communication at Kenya Institute of Mass Communication. So I was with the East African Standard as a correspondent in Kisumu for 1 year, that is in 1996. There I was working among men. I was the only lady in that office. The media then was male dominated, and that's why I found myself being the only lady in among around 12 men in the office. So some of the men, do I say, they were prejudiced. They would look at me from the gender perspective instead of looking at my capacity. And therefore, they never imagined that a female journalist can measure up to their male counterpart. So during that time, I had good experience and bad experience too, whereby I would write a story sometimes, and particularly sports stories, and the next day the byline goes to a different person. But that was sorted out because the bureau chief was a very supportive man. So thereafter, I joined KBC in 1997, where I started off as an assistant producer. So as an assistant producer and then later producer, I was involved in productions, that is program productions. In radio, you have your own productions. So I had my own productions on different topics, and we also had joint productions like current affairs. So I did current affairs, both English and Kiswahili. Kiswahili was the Yaliyo Tufikia and then Darubini. And then I was also an on-air presenter. I did commentaries, I did sports, I did politics, I covered special events. And during that period, when we were coming, we were just new in KBC, the first year, the second year, the third year. We were looked at from the female point of view, is that a female, according to our male counterparts, a female would not cover politics because they don't understand the subject matter. Okay. That was the conclusion, without even trying someone. And so, because most of the people who did political programs and political reporting were men.
And at this time you were interested in political reporting?
Yeah.
How did you maneuver that?
It was not easy. It was a struggle to prove my worth, that I understand the subject matter, and if you give me a chance, then I'll be able to deliver. So it wasn't easy. At first you'd go with a male counterpart, come back, write the story, but then the credit goes to the male counterpart.
Yeah.
But with the time, I fought for my space because I believed I had that capacity to handle politics. I also had capacity to handle business stories, because business stories, most of the business reporters, writers, even in the other media, were men. So women were for the soft spots, for soft bits, what we call soft bits, cookery, productions, writing stories about fashion, going for gender stories, not hard stuff like politics and business. But I fought and proved my worth. And that's why now I reached a point and became a lead current affairs reporter. I ended up being now posted to Parliament after being written off that I cannot do politics. But because of my writing skills and production skills, I was deployed to Parliament as a reporter for current affairs. So I went there. I found it was still male-dominated. From the other media houses, the majority were men. We were, I think, two women. I think it was Njeri Rugene. Yeah, mostly. And we were three. And there was another lady called Claire Agatheru. Yeah, so it was still the men. And Parliament itself was men. The female MPs were just a drop in the ocean.
So how did you navigate that? Let's just stay there for a little bit. Male-dominated media industry, where you're reporting from, also the parliamentarians male-dominated. How did you juggle this?
In the beginning, I would approach, for instance, an MP for an interview. And you know, the way they respond is like they are not sure you'll do the right thing. But with time, I gained confidence from them. Now they would what they used to call me, William msichana wa darubini, amefika. Because they would hear, they would listen. They used to listen to that program. It was very popular. So they used to listen to it, and most of them would confess they loved the way the program used to be packaged, presented, and the issues that were being discussed in Parliament, we would capture them in the right way. So that's how I gained their confidence, and now they could easily give me the interviews. Whenever I called upon them to comment on something, they would, and some of them would even tip me and tell me there is this story. Yeah. We are going to discuss ABCD. It's going to be hot. So are you going to be in Parliament? I'm like, yes, I'll be there. So yeah, that's how
you became a powerhouse in political reporting.
Yeah, I did, and I am still. I've covered elections since 1997. I covered Lugari constituency when it was one. It was one. Because it was divided into two. It was a huge constituency, Lugari and Likuyani, Malava. So I've covered that. And then I covered the referendum, 2005 referendum. I was in Nakuru, Rongai. But the other elections, 2002, I was in Nairobi. These are the elections I've been in Nairobi. So I have been at the tallying center. Yeah, so that is the National Tallying Center. I was at KICC when it was at KICC, and then then it was moved to 2002, 2007. It was at KICC. Then it was moved to Bomas. Yeah. So I've been at the Tallying Center with all the intrigues.
So over the years that you were reporting, what would be your, say, one or two notable moments?
One of the notable moments is the National Constitutional Conference. That was notable because we made impact. And I was like the driving force. So the impact we made then, I believe, gave me a lot of satisfaction. And that was the highlight. I've covered the constitutional review process. Before the conference, then during the conference, then after the conference, when we had the Kilifi draft, then now we came to the Constitution of Kenya. That is the 2010 Constitution. I covered the committee of experts, and then now we delved into popularizing the Constitution and making the people understand the chapters of the Constitution. So I think that is one of my highlights. The other highlight is sports. Yeah. Actually, it was very interesting. I went to do commentary for taekwondo. I did commentary for swimming. I don't swim.
Okay.
Yes. But I did commentary for golf. Okay. I didn't know how golf is played. I didn't know how taekwondo is played. I had just an idea of what swimming is all about. I don't swim. I've never swum. But I had to read about the rules of the game, the scores, so that I could now do that commentary. So that was something, and I managed to do the commentary.
Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to hear from you. You are a leader now in the media industry. You grew into leadership. It's a journey that a lot of women do not take for various reasons. What has got you to where you are in terms of being a leader? And what can be done to increase the number of women, climbing up the ladder?
One, before I even go there, I've just talked about being a producer.
Yes.
But I became a news editor. Yes, I was moved to the editorial department. That is in 2007, whereby we were being blamed of not being very impartial when it comes to political reporting. So I was moved to the editorial department to introduce that aspect, because it was there in radio. Okay. But it was somehow lacking in the newsroom, so I was moved there to see how we can give a voice to both sides and ensure that we are impartial in all that we did. So I moved to the newsroom. I was a news editor up to 2022. June, I was a news editor in the newsroom. But then, and that was not by accident. It is because of the work I was doing at the Current Affairs. That's why the editorial department requested that I move there and just boost the team that was there that was doing great stuff. So I moved there. I worked on the television desk as a news editor. And then thereafter, after 5 years, I moved to radio as a radio editor. That is on the side of the news. So from there, I worked very hard to also just have that wholesome aspect, because my training, I trained in both news and production. So now I had done production. So now I was into news, real stuff, after the experience I had at the Standard. So it is out of sheer hard work. And that's when I also went back to school, that I should mention. I went back to school because when I joined here, I had a diploma in mass communication. So I went back to school to do my degree, and then I did a master's degree. And I also did a certificate in leadership and management. Those are the things that also equipped me, apart from the experience I've had in different aspects, but the academic side also has played a bigger role into why I am in this position. So I worked very hard when I was also in the newsroom, and since I am a producer, when this position came up, I looked at my CV and thought, oh yeah, I can give it a shot because I'm a producer. I have experience as a producer, and I think I know what is lacking in the department of radio production, and I think I can give it my best shot. So I applied. Because I met the basic requirements, I applied. And I waited to be notified whether I had been shortlisted. You know, there is an application, first move.
You have to put your name there.
Yes. Yeah. Then you have to wait to be notified if you've been shortlisted for the interview. So I was shortlisted for the interview. Then I had never appeared before the board for an interview. I had been going for interviews before the staff management committee because of the lower positions. But then now this time I was going to appear before the board. I was going to be interviewed by the board. So, and I was like, okay, how many women are in that board? You know, the way you're like, how many women are in that board? Who can support me? Like, okay, I don't know how they are going to be composed, but I will go there. I will give my best. I will prepare well, and that's what I did. Actually, let me tell you, I read. After I received, that notification that I've been invited for an interview, I was shortlisted and I've been invited for an interview. I was given a notice of 1 week, my friend. I prepared. Yeah, I read white. I looked at my leadership and management. How do I call it? Journey. That is the training. It really came in handy. Plus the experience of being a producer and being a news editor. So a combination of that. Because that is a different experience as a reporter, as a producer, and then now as a news editor, different experience. So I brought it together and it blended well, and yeah, here I am. But it's been a journey because I had been doing interviews for other positions.
Yes.
And I wasn't successful.
And then finally you were successful.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know, as a woman who is already in leadership now, how are you supporting the younger generation?
Before even I got into leadership, I am a mentor. I've mentored so many young female journalists There are those that I have helped get better jobs. In fact, as I speak, there is one who is working for the US government. And I am the one who guided her. She was working here, she was a colleague. There was an opportunity. Then they needed a degree. I didn't have a degree then. So I recommended her, I guided her. She got that job. She was working with a US agency here in Nairobi. She moved to Kakamega. Then now she got a green card to go and work, to go and live in the US. So because of the agency she was working with here, they recommended her to go and work in the main office. So I'm still involved in mentoring, and you know, sometimes I do guidance, that is guidance and counseling, where you see there is potential, but this female journalist doesn't have that confidence in themselves. It happens a lot. We have very good female journalists, but what they lack is confidence in themselves. And then they also have, because of their cultural background, they believe there are certain areas where women are not supposed to move. So when, for instance, I am deliberate normally, I can wake up one day and decide, Betty, I am moving you to this area. You're like, oh, you give me all manner of excuses. But I do not relent. So I will pester you, talk to you, tell you why I think you suit that position. Until now you get to accept. I'm doing that a lot because there are young female journalists upcoming, but because of that cultural and religious prejudice, they are unable to put in an application when a promotion is cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a vacant position. They qualify. They have everything: academic qualification, professional. They have experience. They are intelligent. You know, everything favors them, but they don't put in an application. So that's what I'm working on, to ensure that when positions come up, I encourage them to put in an application and just face the interview the way they faced the first interview when they were looking for this job. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm trying to just ensure that they come up. Yeah, because it's just out of fear, actually. It's not that there's nothing else.
It's just fear.
Yes.
So as we come to a close of the conversation, Mr. Raja, what would you tell that young woman who is probably in campus and wants to enter the media industry? They have, you know, a whole 30 years in the industry looking at them as they come in. What would you tell them?
One thing is I would tell them not to fear, because what has been happening in the media is that at recruitment level, you get in so many young women, but along the way, they disappear. You know, they resign, change, move to corporate, you know, they disappear because they see more hurdles than opportunities. So what I would tell the young people in the university, young female journalists, is that first, believe in yourself. And there is no easy profession. All professions have their own challenges. Yeah? All professions have their own challenges. So prepare yourself psychologically to deal with whichever challenge you may face when you get into employment. Yeah? So believe in yourself. Learn to define yourself. Don't let any other person to define you, because when you allow them to define you, they will define you in a way that brings you down so that they can come up. So define yourself and tell yourself, I can do it. What I've gone through training like my fellow male counterpart. We've been in fact, the same class. And maybe you are even scoring higher than the male counterpart. So if I have been in school, I've gone through the school system, that is primary, secondary, university or college, and I've been in class with these men. What they can do, I can do it.
I agree. What they can do, we can do as well.
Yeah, because if for you do business reporting, it is because you believe in yourself and you know that you have that capacity to report on business. But now when they come in, let them also know what they want. Yeah? If you are interested in politics, let no one discourage you. If you want to be a business reporter, let no one discourage you. If you want to be climate change reporter, any segment or sector that you choose, you can be an agricultural reporter, a very good one who ensures that farmers get the right information because this country depends on agriculture. So you can be in any field, but make sure that you decide. Don't touch here, tomorrow, the following day. Be specific, be deliberate, be determined, and maintain self-respect.
Maintain self-respect. Thank you very much, Mary, for speaking with us.
Thank you.
That is Mary Daraja. She is the radio programs manager here at KBC. And we have been talking about just her journey in the media industry, 28 years strong, what she has learned, the challenges she has faced, coming from a time when the industry was highly male-dominated to a time now when there are some women, including herself, in the top leadership positions. That is all a precursor to the International Women's Day celebration that is happening tomorrow on 8th of March 2024. For all women who are watching, have yourselves a happy International Women's Day. And to all the men, do support the women in your lives. My name is Betty Kiptum. Good night.
Well, thank you, Betty Kiptun, for that wonderful interview there as we look forward to the International Women's Day. As Mary Daraja has said, be determined, be deliberate, and believe in yourself in the journalism field. Now, we will be looking at the sporting world, and Karen Kibet is with me here in studio. Karen, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Happy Women's Day in advance, Carol.
Happy Women's International Day.
I know tomorrow I won't be able to see you to wish you personally, but I'm glad I've had the opportunity to wish you right now. Thank you so much for keeping us up to speed with what was making headlines in the general news and also the business world. It's now time for us to take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. My name is Karen Kibet.
Well, Karen, before you start off, we're going to take a short break. And then you'll be bringing us the sporting update after that break.
Shamba ni mbili, yako ni gani? Kwenye star 570 hash. Every 100 shillings unayotumia kwa Lucky Game inakupa 1 entry point ya kuingia kwenye drum ya draw, ambayo inakupa fursa ya kujishindia moja kati ya shamba hizi mbili. Mwisho wa April namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings na unapata title deed yako safi. Na mwisho wa Mei namtangaza mshindi wa shamba hili la 1.1 million Kenyan shillings, lori za mawe na mchanga. Ploti ndizo hizi. Dial star 570 hash. Title deed ndio hii. Fuka na shake.
Welcome back. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now talk sports. The Athletics Kenya officials who have served for 8 years since the Sports Act came into force have been ordered to vacate office. The orders were issued by Justice Leonard Mugambi as he read the judgment on a petition filed by former international athletes contesting the constitutional review process that Athletics Kenya undertook in 2016.
World Championship 10,000 meter final for men of 1991 in Tokyo.
Former athletes, led by two-time Boston Marathon winner Moses Tanui, filed a petition at the High Court in Kenya seeking to have Athletics Kenya, that's AK, abide by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Sports Act of 2013 in all governance matters. In their prayers to the court, the athletes wanted to be recognized as individual members of AK with the right to participate in the review of the organization's constitution and electoral processes. Further, they averred that any member of the executive committee in office after the 1st of August 2014 quit as the one-year transition period offered by the Sports Act had lapsed. In his judgment, Justice Leonard Mugambi ordered Athletics Kenya to hold consultation with the public and give due consideration to concerns raised by stakeholders while formulating or reviewing its policy documents. That Athletics Kenya further reviews its constitution adopted on the 27th of April 2016 within the next 90 days. Justice Mugambi further ordered that the officials and executive committee members of AK, who have been in office for a cumulative period of 8 years since the coming into force of the Sports Act 2013, have served their terms in full and must forthwith vacate office and shall be ineligible to contest for any position in the organization. For Prime Edition, I am Daniel Wahome.
Thank you, Wahome, for that report. Moving on, Sports CS Ababu Namwamba has reaffirmed the government's position to ensure Team Kenya is well taken care of at the 13th African Games in Accra, Ghana. All athletes will be paid both their local and foreign traveling allowances before departure. The Sports CS said this when he flagged off a strong field of 52 athletes who were selected on Wednesday to represent the country in the ongoing African Games. Athletics Kenya President retired Lieutenant General Jackson Tuwei said the team is well prepared for the Games and exuded confidence they will post good results in Ghana. The team will report for residential training this Sunday before traveling to Accra next Wednesday. The athletics competition will be held from the 18th to the 23rd of this month, with Kenya expected to surpass the medal tally in 2019 where they won 11 gold, 10 silver and 10 bronze medals in Rabat, Morocco.
Try your best to qualify if you will be participating in a qualifier event. And then finally, of course, this is also sports, it's competition. It's about national pride. And that's why the flag is flown and the national anthem is played to reflect the pride of every participating nation. And we want the Kenyan flag to be flown and our national anthem to be played again and again and again.
Secondly, as they were competing yesterday, of course, we also wanted to see the standards that we are in, so that when we send the team to Accra, Ghana, we know what kind of standards we are looking at. And I can assure you, Waziri, I think this team that is going out there, we have no doubt that they will try their level best and they will bring good results.
Now finally, the Kenya Volleyball Federation has entered into a one-year partnership with the Java House Foundation, which will see national volleyball teams, Malkia Striker and Wafalme Stars, benefit from meals and refreshments during their training sessions.
The two national teams have represented the country at the top level, with the female side Malkia Strikers guiding Kenya to 10 continental titles. The team is already in Ghana for the Africa Games with Wafalme before they embark fully on their Olympics journey. Malkia Strikers qualified for their 4th Olympic Games, scheduled for Paris this year, when they won the African title at last year's Women African Club Volleyball Championships.
Sports is a very, very physical thing. So once the nutritional aspect is well taken care of, then now from there, the coaches can take over and take charge of the technical bits.
From a nutrition point of view, whether it's ugali, whether it is mrenda, I'm sure we will find a solution that would help the teams get nutrition.
Meanwhile, Metropolis Football Club, which plays in the Football Kenya Federation Eastern Region League Zone A, has been boosted with a sponsorship worth $151,000 by their new sponsor FinCorp Credit. Other companies have been urged to come in handy and assist by sponsoring the team so that it can be able to propel to another level.
Wameona potential in our team. At least wameona tukipata na we can sell them and still wataweza kutuinua tuende to that level yenye hata sisi tunawish.
Elsewhere, Extreme Sports Limited has provided National Super League clubs with balls and a cash contribution totaling to $2 million as part of their 20th anniversary celebrations. The contribution aims to firm up a way to work together to unleash the potential of the NSL League and explore avenues of collaboration with clubs across the country.
It is about time now we attracted more support into our football, but that will only come if we have good governance and we have transparency and accountability in football management.
Spanish soccer giants Real Madrid have qualified for the UEFA Champions League quarter-finals after beating RB Leipzig 2-1 on goals aggregate. The two teams drew 1-1 in their second leg last 16 match last night. Elsewhere, English Premier League side Manchester City also booked a spot in the last 8 with a 3-1 victory over Copenhagen to secure a 6-2 aggregate win.
Real have played 3 games in La Liga, drawing 2. Round, and that's a fantastic response.
Alvarez with the delivery in towards Manchester City 3, Copenhagen 1 on the night, 6-2 to 6.
Sports stories we had for you tonight, and I'd definitely love to remind you that the Safari Rally, the third round of the 2024 World Rally Championship, which will be held between the 28th and 31st of March, will be aired live on KBC Channel 1. You definitely wouldn't want to miss out on that. I'm now joined by my colleague Carol Njenga. Carol?
Hi, Karen. As we wrap up, I would like to know from you, I know the theme for this year's International Women's Day is Invest in Women and Accelerating Progress. I'd like to know from you, Karen, how you're supporting women in sporting world to maybe join your field of becoming an anchor.
As a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion in the sports industry, I'm always talking to my fellow women to join the industry because most of them view it as a male-dominated industry, which it is, but there is space for all of us in this particular industry. And so many women have risen up as coaches, as athletes, as in the management sector. And I'm so glad to say that where we are right now in the sports industry, looking back, it's not as it was back then. So many women have risen up, and I always take my time to encourage the young women to also come and join in. There is space for everyone. There's no industry that you can say is too full to have new people joining in. So it's, as an advocate for that, it's something I always talk about every time in encouraging women, and I'll still do. And we do hope that a strong breed of women are raised in order for continuity to happen. So as when the women who are there before us exit, that there's quality and there'll still be continuity in the industry in many years to come.
Wow, wonderful, Karen. I know there's much we can talk about about Women's Day, but that puts a cap on tonight's bulletin. You have been with us from 9 p.m. till now. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Wairimu Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraro. Now have a good night.
KBC Channel 1 imeandaa vipindi spesheli katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhan mwaka huu kwa ajili yako.
Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kando na ukumbi wa Kiislamu na hutuba ya Ijumaa, kutakuwa na makala yanayoangazia maswala ya funga, mawaidha,
whosoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he should fast.
Vipindi vya mapishi.
Katika mapishi ya Ramadhani tutatayarisha pilau ya korosho. Utahitaji viazi, vitunguu vinne vikubwa na zabibu
na kaswida mbalimbali. Pia tumekuandalia kalenda ya Ramadhan ili kukuweka kwenye mstari wa mbele katika funga yako. Tazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 katika mwezi huu mtukufu wa Ramadhan ili kukuza na kuhifadhi imani yako.
Sisi ya kungoja kwenye star 570 hash kuna ploti na ni up to 1.1 million Kenyan shillings with a genuine title deed na inakungoja. Star 570 hash, bukana shake.
I can't believe a priest uses his hands to cross himself. Let's go. Hey, don't you dare hurt her. Don't mistreat her, okay? I said they're only used to cross yourself, okay?
Father! You haven't won anything. You wanted to play with fire? Prepare yourself.
Take it easy. You know how the saying goes. The man who doesn't have a woman with him already has all the women in the world. And I'm number one on that list.
And for those who still don't know about it, I want to tell you something that made me very happy. Amparo has finally agreed to marry me. Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family.
Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Las Bandidas.